AFC East first place, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. No surprise there. I think we're the best overall team in this division. Best quarterback in the division with Josh Allen. They've been good in previous years. I don't see any reason why they won't be good this year. Second place, Patriots at 10-7. Might come to a surprise. Some people, I feel like they're a good team. I feel like Drake May is going to take a step forward, and the new head coach, Mike Vrabel, I feel like he's a good coach. So they have a pretty manageable schedule, and I think that they're going to surprise some people and go 10-7 this year. Now, third place, Miami Dolphins. I have them at 8-9. I think their offense is solid. I think their defense is pretty bad, and there's just there's a lot of question marks there. I just don't trust them to be able to beat good teams, and I don't trust them to do much better than 8-9, maybe a little bit better, but I don't think they're a playoff team. And then fourth place at 6-11, I've got the Jets. They definitely have potential, but just not a lot of, just not good enough overall to be able to do a whole lot better than 6-11. They could do a little bit better, but new head coach and new quarterback, and I'm not really a big fan of either of them. Not sure that Justin Fields is a starting caliber quarterback. He's definitely struggled in the past. And then Aaron Glenn was the defensive coordinator on the Lions, and the Lions defense wasn't spectacular, so I'm not really convinced that the Jets are going to be very good. AFC North, first place, I got the Ravens at 12-5. They still have Lamar Jackson. They still have the same guys that this team hasn't really changed a whole lot. And I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be good. Their secondary is amazing. Lamar Jackson's amazing. Derrick Henry's amazing. This is a really good team, and I think that they're going to remain on top. Now, second place, I'm going with the Bengals. Their defense, very questionable. I don't know if it's going to be quite as bad as last year, as a disaster last year. It could be worse, but that would be really bad for the Bengals. I'm going to say that's going to be pretty similar, maybe a little bit better. But I think that'll allow the Bengals to go 10-7 and grab a wild card spot. Steelers, honestly, I have no idea. It's a really hard team to predict. There's a lot of old guys on that team, which is scary because, if they play to their potential, I think they'll be amazing. But if their old guys regress, then they could be terrible. But Steelers never have a losing record under Mike Tomlin. I don't think that's going to change this year. I think Aaron Rodgers still has a little bit left. DK Metcalf's a good wide receiver. Jalen Ramsey, added to that defense. Their defense was already good. I'm not worried about them losing Minka because I'm not sure that, he wasn't on the decline also. So I feel like they're going to be a pretty solid team. They definitely have talent. And I really have no idea how they're going to do, but 10-7 seems like a pretty fair estimate. And then the Browns are an absolute dumpster fire. They're terrible. Joe Flacco is, I like Joe Flacco, but I'm not sure he's going to be good because actually I'm pretty sure he won't be good. He's really old. And then, they're just terrible all around. Myles Garrett is good, but that's like one good player on their whole team, so don't trust them. And I definitely think that Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders will both probably start. At least one of them will start a game this year. Not really a believer. I don't even know. It's a mess. I don't think this team has the talent to win games. So 3-14, maybe a little bit harsh. They could do a little bit better, but they're not going to be good. AFC South, I'm taking the Texans to win the division again. Honestly, I feel like all these teams have a shot. It's not a great division. The Texans O-line, I think it's going to be terrible this year, but the rest of the team, I think, should be pretty solid. And 9-8 seems pretty reasonable. The Colts, now I've heard a lot of people are saying that the Colts are going to be like terrible this year, but I think that they could be decent. I don't really think their roster is not that bad, and I don't think they're really getting worse than they have previous years, and they've been putting up somewhat decent records. So I feel like they're not going to get much better or get much worse. I know Daniel Jones is going to be the week one starter, but I don't think that's a problem. Anthony Richardson was not good enough. Daniel Jones, he's won a playoff game before. He's not like the worst quarterback in the league, so I think 8-9 seems pretty reasonable. Jaguars, I'm not really sure. There's some hype around them. They got Travis Hunter now. The real deciding factor is going to be if Trevor Lawrence is actually good or not. And he's definitely shown flashes, but he's also been bad the majority of his career. So 7-10. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me too much if they won the division. But new head coach, not really sure about Liam Cohen. I don't know if he's going to be a good head coach or not. There's just a lot of uncertainty there, and I just don't really trust them to be that good. Titans should, I think they're going to be terrible. But I'm not the biggest Cam Ward guy, and there's just not a lot going on there to like. I don't like what I see when I look at their roster. However, this division is wide open, so anyone could honestly win it. But the Titans, on paper, have the worst roster in this division, and I think Cam Ward's going to struggle year one. So I got them going 3-14, which is pretty harsh, but they're also pretty terrible. So it seems kind of fair. In the AFC West, first place at 14-3, I have the Chiefs. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have Andy Reid. I don't really think there's anything to worry about. I think Mahomes are going to be playing like MVP again, and the Chiefs should be able to win this division. Broncos, I think the Broncos are going to be pretty good this year. Their defense was really good last year, and it only got better in free agency. I think Bo Nix is going to say about the same. I don't think he's going to get a whole lot better. And they're well coached, good defense, pretty manageable schedule. So I think that they should be able to take care of business and win a lot of games this year. Chargers, I also think should be pretty good. Justin Herbert, I think he's a really good quarterback. They drafted a really good running back. They still have Harbaugh as their coach. I like what I see when I look at the Chargers roster. Wide receivers, I'm a little bit skeptical. They have Vlad McConkey, but other than that, I'm not sure. I'd like it if Justin Herbert had more options, but I think overall it's a pretty solid team. Raiders, let's see. So Pete Carroll's the head coach now. Geno Smith at quarterback. He's definitely different. They drafted Ashton Shinty. I don't think they're quite there yet, but I think I'm not the biggest Geno Smith guy either. So I think 7-10 for the Raiders seems pretty reasonable in fourth place in this division. But they could surprise some people. I think they could be decent, or they could be terrible. I really don't know, but I think 7-10 seems to be realistic for them. All right, so looking at the AFC picture as a whole, I got the Chiefs on top, number 1 seed. Bills winning the AFC East, and they'll get the number 2 seed for the playoffs. Third, Ravens. Honestly, I think those top 3 are all interchangeable. They could really go anyway. I think they're all contenders. I think they're all really good teams. Fourth place, 9-8 Texans winning the South. So I really do think the South is open, but they've won it the last 2 years, and I'm not super confident in any of the other teams in the South, so I'm gonna give it to the Texans. And then Broncos, 12-5. That's a really good record. I'm not much. It's hard to predict. I feel like they could be. I think they'll be in that range, maybe 11-6, but I think they're a good team. I think they'll definitely get a wild card spot this year. Next, Chargers, same boat as the Broncos. It's not super different. from last year, but I do think the Broncos are going to take a step forward. Chargers might stay a little bit more the same. Then the very last wild card spot is going to go to the Bengals. That offense is really good. Their schedule is pretty manageable. Not the easiest, not the hardest, but I do trust Joe Burrow, and I do think that they're going to be able to win a fair amount of games. Patriots and Steelers, I think, will just miss out on the playoffs. They'll also be 10-7, but I've got the Patriots losing to the Bengals in the regular season, so they don't have that tiebreaker, and also Steelers losing to the Chargers in the regular season, so they won't have the tiebreaker either. But I definitely do think that either one of those teams could get into the playoffs. And then kind of we went playoff teams, then borderline playoff teams with the Patriots and Steelers, and then I feel like we take a step back here with the Dolphins, Colts, Raiders, Jaguars. I mean, I'm not really a big believer in any of them. I think that they could all be decent, but I don't really see those teams getting into the playoffs. And then the Jets, they're bad. The Browns and Titans are terrible. So yeah, that's what I've got the AFC standings looking like. Right, in the NFC East, Eagles on top. No surprise there. That's a really good team. They just won the Super Bowl. I think they're still good. Not a whole lot to say there. Commanders. There's a lot of old guys on that team, and that definitely concerns me. RB1 right now, Austin Eckler, old. Zach Ertz is old. Added Von Miller to the defense, old. But I do think James Daniels is good. And they made it to the NFC Championship game last season, so I can't be too hard on them. I think a lot of people have been doing better, but I don't think we should. I don't think they're going to be that much better than last year. I don't really think they're going to be better at all. They might take a step back, and I think that they'll end up going 9-8. But I do have them making the playoffs. Cowboys are the team that honestly I feel the least confident about. I feel like they could either be one of the worst or one of the best teams in the league. I really have no idea because new coach who, Schottenheimer. I'm not mistaken, but I don't think he's ever called plays before at the NFL level at least. I don't think he's going to be a good head coach. I don't really know why they waited so long to fire McCarthy just to hire him. It didn't make any sense. Micah Parsons is still on the team as of now, but with no new contract. I don't know if that's going to change whenever this gets uploaded, but that's when I made the PowerPoint. Micah Parsons is still on the Cowboys, but he's still not happy. 8-9. I feel like they're too talented to go 8-9, but it's also like the Cowboys and they underperform a lot of the time. Honestly, this team could go like 12-5, and that wouldn't surprise me that much. But I think there's a lot of good players, but there's just a lot that I don't trust with the Cowboys. The Giants in fourth place at 5-12. 5-12. I feel like they're better than a 5-12 team. I actually think the Giants could be decent, and I know that sounds weird to say when I have them at 5-12, but that defense is actually looks pretty good, and I think Russell Wilson is decent enough to win games. And then of course they have Malik Neighbors, so their schedule is really hard. If they had we could be talking about them as a potential wildcard team if their schedule is different, but their schedule is really hard, and I have them at 5-12. I don't think they're as bad as you would think of a 5-12 team, but it's hard to put them any higher with how hard their schedule is. All right, moving on to the NFC North. I've got the Lions winning this division at 10-7, which does seem a bit harsh because they've been really good the past 2 years, but they lost both their coordinators, which is never good for a team. I feel like losing Ben Johnson's going to hurt that offense and hurt Jared Goff. I don't think they're going to be as good, but they're still a really talented team, so I do think they'll be able to win the division. Packers also at 10-7. I'm a believer in Jordan Love. I think he's pretty good, and I think overall they're solid, but they're solid, but they're just not quite at the elite level yet. Bears 8-9, third place in this division. I honestly think any of these 4 teams could win the division. I wouldn't be too surprised. The offense, I think it's going to be pretty good. Defense, I'm not as sure about, and I do think Ben Johnson's going to be a good head coach, but then at the end of the day, the Bears are the Bears, and they always find ways to lose games, so 8-9, third place. And then the Vikings, I know this is probably going to upset some people because, they were great last year. 7-10, you might think that's harsh, but I'm not a believer in J.J. McCarthy. I really like Kevin O'Connell, though. I think he's a great coach. I don't think J.J. McCarthy's going to be very good, and I think that's going to hurt this team. I think that they're going to go 7-10. But with that being said, I do think the Vikings, if they won this division, it wouldn't surprise me that much. I feel like all these teams are pretty even. Okay, NFC South, I've got the Buccaneers on top, 11-6. I think they're in for a really good season. Baker is solid. Todd Bowles, good head coach. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, great wide receivers. They drafted Igbuka. They have a lot of their wide receiver room is really good. Cade Otton, good tight end. I think this team is solid. Like every position is solid. There's not like a true weakness. Falcons 7-10, which I think there's a lot of people who believe in the Falcons this year, but I'm not one of them. I'm not a big believer in Michael Penix Jr. I'm not really sure Raheem Morris is a great coach, and there's definitely a lot of uncertainty there. The defense is questionable, and I'm just not sold that they're going to be ready to contend quite yet. Panthers 4-13. They're better than a 4-13 team. I think Bryce Young, he was bad at the beginning of the season, but at the end of the season he actually looked pretty solid. So 4-13 does seem a little bit harsh, but their schedule is no joke. They kind of like the Giants. I feel like their rosters are better than what I have their record at, but hard to put them any higher just because of how hard their schedule is. And then the Saints, I think this is the worst team in the league. Spencer Rattler, they've announced him as their week 1 quarterback. If you watched Spencer Rattler last year, he looked like one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. He was terrible. That team is just abysmal. I definitely think that they'll have the number 1 overall pick in the next draft. I think they're the worst team in the league. I think they're going to finish with the worst record in the league. I have nothing nice to say about the Saints. All right, in the West, 49ers and Rams, both at 10-7. I feel like these are the top 2 teams in the West. I feel like it could go either way, but I've got 49ers winning the division. I like Purdy. I like Shanahan. A good quarterback and a good head coach are very important, and I think they have that, so I think they're going to win the division. Rams, I am a little worried about Matthew Stafford. I'm not sure how severe his injury is. Now, on paper, I think they're the best team in this division. They have Stafford, who's a good quarterback. They have Kyren Williams. They have Puka. They have Devontae Adams. They have the Jared Verse, who just won Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, this team looks really good, but Stafford's old, and I'm not sure how severe that injury is. Otherwise, I mean, I really do think if that injury is nothing and Stafford is still playing at a high level, that this could be like a serious contender in the NFC. But I'm worried about Stafford, so I have both 49ers and Rams winning 10-7, and then the Cardinals at 9-8. I actually feel like the Cardinals have a pretty solid roster. Kyler gets a lot of hate. I really don't think he's that bad. Overall, I mean, it's not a bad roster at all, and I think that they'll be able to win a good amount of games. Seahawks, yeah, I'm not a big Sam Darnold believer. I think the reason that he was so good was because of how good of a coach Kevin O'Connell is, and also that O-line is pretty suspect. So I think Sam Darnold plus a bad O-line isn't going to lead to a whole lot of success. But 8-9, not terrible. I think they're a pretty solid team. All right, so on top of the NFC, I'm going to say the Eagles. They still have, on paper, the best roster in the NFC. And then right behind them, maybe a surprise to a lot of people, but I'm going to say the Buccaneers. I just feel like that roster is really good. There's not a lot of weaknesses, and I don't see any reason why they don't have a good season. Then the Lions, I'm a little bit worried about them because they lost both coordinators, but their roster is really good, so I feel like they're still going to have a good season. Then 49ers, I mean, this team, I'm worried because they didn't have a good year last year, but I do think that they have a good quarterback and a good head coach, and that's pretty important. So I think that they'll be able to make the playoffs. And then 5 seed Packers, I'm a believer in Jordan Love. I feel like overall they're pretty solid. There's not a lot of from like 2 to 7 in the NFC. I feel like it's all pretty interchangeable. Like I don't really feel like any of these teams are much better than the next, except I do think the Eagles on top. 6, I have the Rams. I feel like they could be like finished second in the NFC if Stafford is healthy and playing at a high level, maybe even first in the NFC. But I'm worried that he's injured, and I'm worried that Devontae Adams might take a step back also. And then the final wildcard team, I've got the Commanders. Great year last year, but I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to be as good as they were last year. And there's a lot of old guys on the team, and I know I've mentioned that, but we have a lot of old guys. It scares me. And then Cardinals just missing out on the playoffs. Might be a lot higher on the Cardinals than most people, but honestly, their roster is pretty solid, and I don't really have any major problems with them. But I don't think they're gonna be great yet. Just think they'll be in the hunt. And the Bears, I don't know. There's just so much uncertainty there. Will Caleb Williams be good? I mean, I feel like they're gonna be solid, but not quite ready to compete yet. The Cowboys could be so good this year, but there's just so many question marks. It's just, I mean, as of now, I don't even know if Michael Parsons is gonna play. I'm assuming he will, but I don't understand why this roster construction. I don't get it. I don't get why they hired Schottenheimer as their head coach. I just feel like there's also that running back room is not good. I like some of their players, but I don't think overall they're gonna be good enough. Seahawks, I'm just not a believer in Darnold if I'm being honest, and I also don't think their O-line's good, which is gonna lead to even worse quarterback play. I'm not trying to hate on Sam Darnold, but I think the reason that he played good last year was because of his head coach, which he won't have this year. Vikings, not a believer in JJ McCarthy, but if he does play good, then this Vikings team might be able to make some noise. I really like their head coach, but and they did good last year somehow. I mean, I was not high on them last year, and they proved me wrong, so maybe they'll go do that again. Falcons, I just don't think that Michael Penix Jr. is going to be that good. Like, I feel like he might be decent, but I'm not a super big believer in his, and I don't think they're ready to compete yet. The Giants, I don't like that I have them at 5-12 because I actually feel like that defense, especially the defensive line, should be super good, but they do have a really hard schedule. Panthers kind of same as the Giants. I don't think they're 4-13 bad, but they do have a really tough schedule. And the Saints, for my money, I'd say they're the worst team in the league, hands down. I mean, there's just nothing to like there. All right, this is what I got the playoff bracket looking like. So let's take a look. Wild card round. I'm taking Broncos over Texans. I feel like they're better, but Texans will have home field advantage. Bills, Bengals. That could be a really good game, but the Bengals defense is pretty weak, so I'll take Bills. And then Ravens, Chargers. Ravens are just overall they're the better team. Packers beat the 49ers. Buccaneers beat the Commanders. Not really convinced that the Commanders are going to be quite as good as last year's in the playoffs. And then Lions over Rams. That could be a really good game. That could go either way, but Chiefs beat Broncos. Ravens beat Bills. Eagles beat Packers. Buccaneers, Lions. So not nothing too crazy there, but I've got the Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl just because I feel like they're the most. I mean, I trust Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid the most, so I'll go with them. And then I've got the Buccaneers, which honestly I don't feel like they're better than the Eagles, but I don't want to have another Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl matchup because I just feel like that's not going to happen again. And honestly, why not them? They have a really good team roster wise, so I feel like they might surprise some people and be able to go Super Bowl. But I don't think they're better than Chiefs, so I've got Chiefs over Buccaneers. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles make it, the Ravens make it, the Bills make it. I feel like those teams are all in the AFC. I feel like I expect. The only reason I'm taking the Chiefs is because I trust Mahomes and Andy Reid the most. But the Bills and Ravens also have really good rosters, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if they make it. And the Eagles would just be kind of boring if they made it back, I guess. I don't want to make it that, so we'll go with the Buccaneers. This is what I got the awards looking like. MVP, Patrick Mahomes. I feel like he's the best player in the league, even though he's had a little bit, he had a down season last year, but I feel like he's going to bounce back. Great. Jamar Chase, Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's got Joe Burrow throwing him the ball, and I'd say he's a top 2 wide receiver. You can make the argument for number 1, but he does have Joe Burrow throwing the ball, so I think he's going to get a lot of yards. Nick Bosa, Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, I feel like there's a handful of guys that could go to. I'm thinking Nick Bosa, then comeback Player of the Year, Hutchinson. Suffered a serious injury last year, but I think he's going to have a really good season. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going with the Chargers running back, Marion Hampton. They drafted him in the first round, and I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to get a lot of carries. Also, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. He's a D lineman, and I think he's going to be really good. And then Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel. I think he was a good coach on the Titans, I feel like. And I feel like Drake May is going to take a step and be good this year, so I feel like the Patriots might surprise some people, and that'll lead to him winning Coach of the Year. And that is all the slides that I have today. I know there's definitely some hot takes in there. and a lot that's not hot takes at all. But yeah, that's it.